What is up, guys, and welcome to the penultimate episode of F1 Career Mode ever. This is the second last episode I will ever do on my channel. That is a promise. No, before you go rushing away to unsubscribe, that is a joke. There will be a Season 3. There will be, no matter what. I'm enjoying this game. Okay? It will happen. Anyway, Brazilian Grand Prix, penultimate episode of the season, and we are getting ready for a climactic championship battle between ourselves and Mercedes. Gearing up for that, we need to... Oh, what are we going to do? Durability team building or reaction training? We're going to put that towards reaction training and boost George Russell stats. I'm actually not going to do too much upgrading now. We're going to spend this amount of resource points. They're actually not going to go towards performance-based stuff. Really, because there's nothing much we can do now. Abu Dhabi is the next race. We're actually going to favor durability. We feel like we're at a point now where the car is fast enough. We actually do have the fastest car in the field now with the... Well, okay. We need a fast forward time, and then we'll find out if the upgrades have gone on from previous episodes, that being the major power upgrade and the brake upgrade. Brake upgrade goes on as I lose my ability to speak. Resources come in. We're going to fast forward time a little bit more. That intercooler does go on as well, so that is an awesome little gain in terms of performance. It shoots us towards being the best car once again. Take that, Mercedes. But on-paper performance does not correlate to on-track performances, so we need to continue to be sharp and bring good setups and, I don't know, drive well, qualify well, etc. You just never know what's around the corner for the next race. But here we go, Brazilian Grand Prix is a track where, man, I've had so much history here, league racing. So many epic battles, epic career mode finales on the older F1 games. It's a track I tend to do pretty well at. I feel like I've told this story a million times, but for a few years there on the new gen of games, I wasn't really feeling myself. But I feel like lately, I think on this game, I found my rhythm again at this circuit, which is absolutely lovely to see. Loading a time trial setup. This is from Simon Weigang, F1 Esports driver. I don't think it's his direct setup, but it's a setup that he's using. And I've downloaded it in an effort to just be extra competitive this race weekend. And that's what we're going to use to hopefully topple both the Mercedes 2.6 wings, minimum tyre pressures, and also very aggressive with the rear suspension and anti-roll bars. It seems that stiffening up the rear is the key to rotating the car at low speed. Give it a go. Promise me, trust me, because the difference between like no setup and a good setup on this game is worth so much. It's worth way more than what it's been on previous games. It's up to like a second or something. It's crazy. But anyway, we're getting ready for qualifying now for the Brazilian Grand Prix. At this point, we are just using the best components we've got left. So it's an alternation between components 4 and 5. And hopefully that gives us the performance as well as the new upgrades we've got to topple Mercedes. Let's do it. Listen to the engine noise real quick. It always makes a noise. Anyway, that means it's ready to go for qualifying. Q1, 4 minutes to go. And again, we're employing the tactic of using minimal tyres at the start of the sessions in order to get through, hopefully to Q3, where I can use 2 sets of softs in order to qualify as best I can. Q1 goes by without a hitch. P7, pretty close up and down the field. Top 10 separated by 4/10, which is pretty good. I'd imagine that's probably going to tighten up as we get into Q2. Everyone turns up their engines and we can really see what everyone is made of. Brazil, one of the closest circuits on the calendar, one of the shortest lap times, so I'd imagine just getting a lap wrong is going to be very, very costly around here. Let's look at the top 10. It's separated by 2.5 tenths in Q2 now. We fast forward to the end of the session. And we're hoping to get through again on 1 set of tyres. I do believe we've got the pace to do so, even with our new upgrades. That should be made a little bit easier. So I think at this point in the career mode, missing out on Q3 is unforgivable. But we'll just wait and see. Alexander Albon coming out of the pit lane right at the last minute, I would say, to try and settle up. Thankfully, he gets out of the way. I think this is going to be a running lap for us. So you'll see exactly where the car is strong and where it is not. Pretty good in first sector and the third sector. Obviously, low downforce, 2.6 wings. Surprisingly, this is a low downforce setup. It doesn't look like it, considering the fact that there's a lot of medium and high-speed corners. That being the double right-hander, which is the highest speed corner on the track. But, you know, don't need too much downforce. And the part where we do struggle a little bit for pace is the middle sector. But really, that's a compromise in order to overtake in the race. So that's a compromise I am willing to make. As we come up to the line, we go P4 in our run 1 minute to go. And that is where we stay. We checked the race director because George Russell set a time on mediums. And I didn't think that was his best lap. I didn't want to believe it. I thought maybe he set a better time on softs, but it was showing mediums because he was on those at the end or something. But no, he genuinely qualified in P2 on a medium compound tyre. George Russell is OP. But looking up and down the field, the top 10 is separated by a tenth and a half. Lewis Hamilton is knocked out in Q2. So too with Alexander Albon. So those two are going to be having some Barneys on lap 1 potentially, sharing the same piece of racetrack. But that's crazy. A Mercedes has not made it through to Q3, albeit they were on the medium compounded tyre as well, going for that one-stop strategy. But, yeah, that throws a spanner in the works. The likes of Bottas, Russell, and Hamilton are going to be starting on a harder compound. I am committed to the soft, meaning I'm going to get the undercut in the race, but it might be a little bit more difficult to do a one-stop relative to those around me. We'll have to wait and see, but Q3, we set a banker time. I actually tried to do a second lap on my first run. I did have the fuel to do so, but I didn't go any faster towards the end of the lap. But we do go faster than what we did last session. I think I did a 105.6. This time around, we do a 105.4. And now we're heading out right at the death of the session to see if we can challenge for the front row of the grid. That's where we want to be. Putting the pressure on Mercedes. And hopefully locking out that front row with my teammate, George Russell. We need to take the fight to Mercedes. Heading into Abu Dhabi, and to do that we need to take good points off of Mercedes at this race. A slow downshift down there into turn 4, which is something I just picked up on. Wonder why I was doing that. Maybe just looking after the gearbox or something. But I think the game responds slightly better to slower gear shifts. If you spam the downshifts too much, the rear end can kick out, and it's not really as effective as slower downshifts. But anyway, Daniel Ricciardo dips into the 4s there on that last lap, 104.9. That's absolutely incredible pace. George Russell drops into the 104.9s as well. We are up by about a tenth on a 105.4. So we're going to do a 105.3. But that's nowhere near the likes of Ricciardo and Russell, who are in the 4s. That could be towards the back end of the top 10. 4th place. 8th place. 8th place. Why do you do that to me, game? I thought I got P4, but no, it's P8 at the end of the day, with Valtteri Bottas snatching pole from everyone. I didn't really see that one coming. That must have come after the checkered flag, after I crossed my, got my lap in the books. But yeah, there we go. George Russell P2, Daniel Ricciardo P3. That's amazing in that Renault. That is really amazing. That he's really putting his name out there. That Renault is way off our pace and the Mercedes, but he is really dragging that thing up there. I want to sign him for next season. I really want to get Daniel Ricciardo on board, but there's something so iconic, something so satisfying about seeing Daniel do so well in a Renault that I almost don't want to spoil it. I hope Renault improve over the winter and can be a championship threat. I'd love to be fighting Daniel Ricciardo at Renault. What the hell do I do with my team? Anyway, let's go to the race.
team are expecting a lot after your podium last race. Concentrate on getting into the points and push on from there.
Here we are. Brazilian Grand Prix sitting on the grid. As you can see, the rain is absolutely splattering this race circuit. And today is not going to be a straightforward affair. Heavy rain. It looks like it might switch to intermediates towards the end of the race. So the intention will be to stay on this tyre for the duration unless there is a weather change towards the end. But we're going to take out some fuel and we're going to just pray that we can get through this opening lap of this Grand Prix. Wet weather conditions are very treacherous on this game. But away we go for the penultimate race. The championship could be decided today if things do well, in fact, go our way. But into turn one, taking it nice and cautiously, trying to dodge the Ferraris as much as I can. Apparently I've made contact with Lando Norris, but I can honestly say there was nothing on my end. But anyway, it's P7 for us, our starting position. We did get promoted up into P7 after a grid penalty for Esteban Ocon heading into this race. So that is a handy position gain for us. Very costly qualifying. We weren't off by much. Everyone just improved right at the end of the session. It means that we've got a lot of work to do in this race. Not much track position, and that is a back-end loss as we open the door for Verstappen, trying to catch the car. He goes around my outside through this middle sector, and I can ill afford to give up track position. I can ill afford to go backwards in this race with Bottas leading the way. I might be leading by like, what, 23 points or whatever it is, but I can't afford for him to score 25 and for me to get P7 and 6. That's just unacceptable in this car. So for the time being, we just got to find a way. I haven't done any running in these conditions in the wets all weekend, so for me it's just a learning phase, just getting up to grips. The AI have an advantage in the way that they are not human and that they don't start off cold like I do. They're pretty much perfect right from the outset as we get up the inside, and Sebastian Vettel up into turn one. That is P6 for us, and at the moment that is 8 points against our name in the championship standings. Thank you very much. The dive bomb there from myself heading into turn one. I actually surprised myself that I was able to make that move because we were a long way back at the start of the straight. I guess that extra oomph in the engine really coming in clutch there for us, and pulling down the Panther Ferrari as we check the race director, not the race director, the weather forecast from Jeff, and he's saying that the wets are still the fastest tyre, and intermediate or light rain is still a long way off. So for the time being, we're going to stick it out on these wet weather compound tyres. I guess if this is going to be a long drawn out stint on this tyre, this could help out our team because of the tyre wear upgrades we've got applied. So let's hope that we're in the fight come the end of the Grand Prix. But early stage of this race, it's only 4 laps in, and Bottas is extending the gap quite a bit over George Russell. Gap is about 4 or 5 seconds. So that's pretty ominous to see that he is so fast in these conditions. If anyone was going to have a shout at overtaking him, I would have thought it would be my 100 pace teammate in a better car. But no, it's not really showing, is it, in the performance on track? One thing I am curious to know is whether things like experience and racecraft and awareness play into the decisions you make, whether it be strategy or your consistency on circuit. I know there's an article somewhere that circulated that went into great detail about the driver's stats in game. If anyone has that at hand, feel free to tweet me, please. But yeah, I'd love to know what it is that George is missing potentially, and what's missing for us at the moment. It is exit speed. I'm struggling quite a bit with just the natural grip in the tyres at the moment. I'm just struggling for the rear end, as you can see on the replay. Charles Leclerc having a front row seat to my drift competition there out of Zhongxiao. So there's that. As we head on to lap 8, again struggling to lay the power down. It is a fully dry qualifying time trial setup from the esports guys, so I'd imagine it's not going to be the greatest thing in the world to run in the race. In hindsight, I probably should have used a full-on wet weather setup. I guess I didn't look at the forecast before I went into the weekend and loaded a time trial setup. I don't even have... I should get like a full-on wet setup for a few different tracks so that I'm prepared for situations like this as we lose the back end on the curb there. That was very scary. Max Verstappen did something very similar a few years ago. But somehow we actually managed to set a personal best in the third sector, despite that back end loss. But meanwhile, we can see George Russell, that was his onboard, we were looking out the back of. He's now getting caught up by Daniel Ricciardo, who did very well in qualifying in that Renault. But yeah, George, I don't know what's going on with him. We've applied some pace upgrades to himself personally, and it's not really been performing that well, has he? He can't really afford to have some dud races because contract renegotiations are coming up at the end of the season. And there are plenty of drivers who are lining up out the door trying to get their name on a contract at my team. But anyway, lap 11, we're in the slipstream of Sebastian Vettel. We're trying to set up the move here into turn 1. That was just a dress rehearsal for potentially what might happen later. We did the dive bomb to his teammate Charles Leclerc not long ago. We might do it to his teammate soon, but that plan will probably have to wait a little bit as we get a horrible exit out of the center S's. And thankfully we have the grunt in a straight line to stay in front of Leclerc. Really just getting us out of trouble there. I'm really just at the moment holding on in the corners, and as Crofty would say, maximizing down the straights. But tyre wear, not really much of an issue. It's more the tyre temps, the front left 79 degrees. We move on to the next lap, and interestingly, the tyre that's struggling is actually the right front tyre. As you look now, it is on pretty much 80 degrees, and it's the left tyre that was fine. So a bit weird, but you don't normally see the tyre temp switch from working side to lazy side. That made no sense. But anyway, we've got some pit stoppers now in this Brazilian Grand Prix. My teammate George Russell is in for intermediate tyres, so it is time to switch. Since George came in, I saw no point in diving it in on the same lap and having a crap pit stop as a result. When it's still wet to enter, you can still do an extra lap and not lose too much time. So I've decided to do that. Did lose a little bit, but I think the loss would have been greater if we did a double stack there. But anyway, into the pit lane we go. We're going to go on to intermediate tyres, and I would imagine that we're going to be much more of a threat in this second half of the Grand Prix, given that we're set up for more dry conditions and lower wings. We should be able to phase in that much nicer as we rejoin out of the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. You can see Sebastian Vettel, who got the undercut. It's going to emerge a good 4 or 5 seconds up the road, so we will need to get our heads down and endeavour to catch up to him in this second half of the race, rejoining very close there with Alexander Albon. For those who are wondering about Lewis Hamilton in this race, he is still behind me, albeit about 3 or 4 positions back. So we've got Albon, Leclerc, then we've got a Red Bull of Max Verstappen, and then behind him, that is Lewis Hamilton, and I believe that Lewis is in like P10 at the moment. So as things stand, I believe we are going to gain on Mercedes in the Constructors, but in order to actually gain a decent amount of points, I need to overtake Sainz and Vettel, ideally, and get a top 4. So that's the aim now for this race. I don't think anyone has an answer for Valtteri Bottas in this Grand Prix. There is Lewis Hamilton, currently in P10, trying to chase down Max Verstappen, who is chasing down Leclerc, who is chasing down Albon, and then there's me. But anyway, we fast forward through the laps now. We are putting in some purple sectors here and there. We are very fast on the straights, and we're starting to gain some momentum. Someone who is actually falling back in this race is Carlos Sainz. He was doing quite well on the wets. He was actually in front of both the Ferraris. Now he's been overtaken by Vettel, and I'd hazard a guess to say that he's going to lose a spot to me now in quick succession as we get a nice run out of the center S. Is trying to put the power down. Not smooth. You can quite clearly see I'm frustrated by that. I needed a good exit there, and I would have got past Sainz at the end of that straight, but no, we've got to wait even longer now. It's a fine balance right now. I'm trying to be smooth, but also try to make up lap time. Sometimes you just get a little bit excited. Nice and smooth on the power this time, Ben. In lean revs, then we put it up into rich as we get up into 5th and 6th gear. Now overtake. Unfortunately, no DRS in these conditions, so you have to work that much harder for your overtakes. In the slipstream of Carlos Sainz, purple to the 3rd sector. Can we go up the inside into turn 1? Yes, we can. That is a top 5, at the asking of this Brazilian Grand Prix. Nice move into turn 1. I think there might have been a slight grazing of contact at the apex of that corner there, but we were so far up the inside of Carlos Sainz that the onus was actually on him. I was already past him. If you look at this from Sainz's point of view, I'm pretty much already past him, and then he still turns in anyway. But that's fine. I think that's a racing incident. We pretty much already got the move done. He tried to close the door, but it was a day late and a dollar short, as Martin Brundle would say. But we are through. 10 points against our name, and now we're going to see if we can charge after Sebastian Vettel and get P4 in this Grand Prix. Anything more than that might be a stretch, as Daniel Ricciardo and my teammate George Russell are a long way up the road, but that is a fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Interesting. We have the pace in this race. It's taken us 3/4 of the race to get there in this position, but here we are. Pit stops are coming out at the back end of this race, as it looks like the Inters are pretty touch and go as to whether they'll make it on just one stint or 2 stints on this tyre. It looks like the AI are gunning for a 2-stop race, opting for the Inters twice. Tyre wear, I tell you what, it's going to be so close. So close as to whether we can make it. Let's ask the engineer and see what the weather forecast is looking like for the rest of the race.
Inters seem like the fastest tyre for now. Inters look like the best tyre for now.
Thank you for that lovely insight, Jeff. I want to know what the hell is happening with the weather, because it looks like the track is getting a little bit better. Like the rain is a little less intense. The clouds are dissipating. No, not really. But the thing that, I don't know, I just feel like the track is naturally going towards maybe a dry circuit soon. But at this point, 10 laps to go in this Brazilian Grand Prix. Valtteri Bottas has made his stop, but he's closing me in massively to the point where he's probably going to overtake me anyway. I need to find out what's going on with the weather.
10 minutes left of this rain, then we think it's going to dry up. 10 minutes. Inters seem like the fastest tyre for now.
Okay, another 10 minutes of this rain as the sun now peaks from out of the clouds. We're looking at the tyre wear. I don't think we're going to make it to the end on one set of tyres. I'm going to play it safe. The reason why I'm going to play this safe is because we've got a Constructors' Championship to think about. I want to win the Constructors. And Bottas is going to overtake me anyway. The amount that the AI were catching me on newer tyres was quite scary, that I thought there's no point risking this when we can get maybe the same or a better result by pitting. And by pitting, we can also get the fastest lap, or a better chance of getting a fastest lap. So it goes against my natural instinct to really go for it, but when we're in the best car, we can't afford to take chances. We need to bank the points that we've got. Hamilton is still down the order. We're going to gain in the Constructors. We're going to lose out in the Drivers. Well, that much is for certain, but look at the fastest laps that are rolling in. We are going to guarantee that we're going to get that in this race, hopefully, as long as it stays Inters for the rest of this race. There's only 5 laps to go, and it is taking a while for the rain to dissipate. So I think that in the end, this was a good decision. As the track gets drier and drier, the tyres will actually wear out faster because they'll overheat as well. It'll be thermal degradation as well as all the stress and the load that we put them through over the duration of this race. But meanwhile, fresh intermediate tyres or fresher tyres really does a lot for you in conditions like this. And that has meant that we've got so much momentum on Sebastian Vettel now. Been pumping in fast laps left, right and centre. And now that we actually caught up to him within 1 second, we're starting to get a little bit of dirty air. The tyres have seen their best, and as such, the fastest laps are not rolling in like they were before. And to add insult to injury, Valtteri Bottas puts it up into scenario 7 and steals the fastest lap off me by 4 thousandths of a second. He did a 1 minute 14.974. That is cruel. That is absolutely so cruel. This is the penultimate lap of the Brazilian Grand Prix now. Trying to close up to Sebastian Vettel. We are catching up to a lap car as I'm trying to put the power down early, and the back end is just absolutely nowhere out of the final corner. That is bloody disgusting. Last lap now. Last chance to get P4 in this race. We try to go up the inside into turn 1. If we're going to get this done, it has to be down into turn 4 now, or potentially into the last corner. or if we're going to really leave it late, then we've got to get a nice run out of the last corner and then have a drag race with Vettel up to the line with some overtake and some rich fuel mixture. Maybe the lap car of Nicholas Latifi can get in the way of Sebastian Vettel. That's a track limits warning as we lost the back end there. I'm really pushing hard here, guys, but the tires have now seen their best. I think they're actually starting to overheat because the track is getting quite dry now. I'd say we're only a lap or two away from a DRS getting enabled. And when it gets to stuff like this is where the AI can really factor back in with their really smooth driving style. But here we go, coming up to the final corner. Is that Glock? I can confirm it is not Glock, it is Nicholas Latifi. He gets in the way of me, allows Vettel to run away with P4 in this Brazilian Grand Prix. Valtteri Bottas, fair play. He's been untouchable today. That's the kind of result that he needed in this Brazilian Grand Prix. 26 points for him and 10 for us.
All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
The Mercedes team pulled out a fantastic performance today. They should be proud.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So well managed. Very well done, Valtteri.
Yes!
Thank you. That's good.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes.
So there it is then. Well done, Valtteri. He drove a really good race. Was pretty much untouchable in the wet weather today, which is actually quite scary when you think about it. We brought two decent upgrades, a major engine upgrade, and a brake upgrade. And yet, the Mercedes won more convincingly this race than what they have in a race that I can remember for the last half a dozen races. It means that things do close up in the drivers. 7 points separating myself and Valtteri heading into the last race, and in the constructors as well. We are only separated by 10 points to Mercedes. So heading into the finale of Season 2 of F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, it is all to play for. Oh man, these last few races, honestly, it's been so tit for tat, at least in the driver's standings between myself and Valtteri. It's just been one guy shining, one guy not having such a good day. I mean, my bad days have been a lot better than Valtteri's bad days, so that's how we've been able to claw back the difference, as well as the sustained pressure we've been putting on Mercedes with the upgrades, with the results that have been streaming in. We've just got one more to go, and we need to make sure that we get it right. Heading into Abu Dhabi, I might even go for a last-ditch attempt to try and get like a minor upgrade in for the next race. It'll have to be minor, it can't be a major. We could rush it in, and that could make the difference. Maybe a front downforce upgrade, rear downforce upgrade, weight redistribution upgrade potentially. Other contenders could be even an ERS or even like fuel consumption upgrade. But I think the biggest difference will probably be like a front downforce upgrade. That would probably go down pretty well. But we'll have to wait and see. Very tough race. I think when you consider that I was running a time trial setup in the wet, I think I did really well. It was a very tough race. Visibility was not great at the start. We managed to hold on. We moved forward. We overtook both the Ferraris. Both Ferraris? No, we missed out on Vettel, didn't we? Towards the end there. But we got one of the Ferraris and we got Carlos Sainz securing a top 5. Not a horrible day. Could have gone better. Some things we need to think about. In the end, I feel like I did make the right decision. But at the same time, when I talk about the second stop for intermediate tires. But there's always that what if. What if we stayed out and just risked it on the inters and maybe tried to get like a P2 or a P3? We'll never know. But at least we know that we banked some save points and we take the fight into Abu Dhabi. That's all we can be grateful for. So join me, guys, for the next episode, the finale in Abu Dhabi. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this season of career mode. It's been very tense, very challenging, very up and down. Momentum has been swinging to and fro between ourselves and Mercedes right throughout this season, and now it is all going to come to an end in this next race, and I absolutely cannot call it. We're going to well and truly do our homework. I'm going to have setups for dry, wet, intermediates, everything, and I'm probably going to do all practice sessions to be fully geared up for this final race.